You know, for so many of us, real estate is the ultimate dream for building wealth. It feels solid, it feels real, a tangible asset that promises security for our families. But when you're talking about a market as complex and unique as India's, that dream is a total double-edged sword. So let's dive into that incredible promise and the very serious peril that really defines Indian real estate.
Before we get into the weeds, we've got to start with this. This is the core philosophy of wealth creation, and Robert Kiyosaki just nails it. It's a super simple but incredibly powerful idea. The goal isn't just to own property. It's to own assets that are actively working for you, putting money in your pocket.
And that difference between an asset and a liability, it's everything. Think about it. Your own home, with the mortgage payments, the taxes, the upkeep, technically, that's a liability. But a rental unit that sends you a check every single month, that's an asset. And really, the whole game is about systematically collecting these income-generating assets, money that works for you even when you're sleeping.
Okay, so that's the dream. But here's where our story takes a really sharp turn. What happens when the very ground you're building your dream on is shaky? In the Indian market, your biggest risk might not be a bad tenant or a dip in the market. No, it's something way deeper, something that's literally woven into the fabric of the system itself.
This right here is the single most critical concept you have to wrap your head around. India operates on what's called a system of presumptive land titling. Now, that might sound like some boring legal jargon, but trust me, it's a fundamental difference that shifts almost all of the risk directly onto you, the buyer.
Let me break this down, because it's a huge deal. In a conclusive system, which is what many countries have, the government basically guarantees your ownership. If someone shows up later and challenges your title, the government deals with it. But under India's presumptive system, your sale deed is just a record of a transaction. It is not a state-backed guarantee of ownership. The entire burden of proving your title is legit and defending it against any and all future claims, well, that falls squarely on your shoulders.
So what does this mean in the real world? What's the actual consequence of this system? Well, get a load of this number. A staggering 66%. We're talking 2/3 of all pending court cases in India are related to land disputes. This isn't just some minor risk factor. It is a massive, systemic problem that creates huge uncertainty for every single person who owns property.
And a system with this much uncertainty? Well, it becomes a breeding ground for fraud. You've got people forging title documents, you have scammers selling the exact same property to 10 different buyers. Developers might try to force you to cancel so they can resell it at a higher price. Or years after you've moved in, you might suddenly discover a long-lost cousin of the original owner who has a legal claim to your property. These aren't just scary stories, they happen all the time. So with all of these insane risks, you're probably asking, how can anyone possibly invest safely? Well, thankfully, the landscape has started to change. To fight these exact problems, a new legal framework has been put in place, and it's created a kind of shield for the investor. Let's look at how you can actually protect yourself. The single biggest, most important development in Indian real estate in recent history is this: the Real Estate Act, or RERA. This law was literally designed to clean up the mess, bringing in a whole new level of transparency, accountability, and most importantly, protection for you, the buyer. And RERA isn't just a piece of paper, it has real teeth. First, all developers have to register their projects, making all the details public. Second, and this one is huge, 70% of the money you pay them has to go into a separate escrow account, and it can only be used to build your project. That stops developers from playing fast and loose with your money. It also standardizes pricing based on the actual carpet area you can use, and it sets up a system to resolve disputes in just 60 days. Each one of these rules directly attacks a problem that has plagued buyers for decades. Now, even with RERA on your side, you still have to navigate the process carefully. And while every single one of these steps is a critical checkpoint, I want you to burn step 1 into your brain: rigorous due diligence. This is where you, or more importantly, your lawyer, verify every single document, challenge every assumption, and trace the history of the property. It is your primary defense against all those title risks we just talked about.
Okay, so we get the dream, we've stared the risks right in the face, and we understand the legal framework designed to protect us. Now, let's put it all together into a practical playbook for the smart investor, a place where your strategy has to be balanced with a healthy dose of caution.
Look, there's more than one way to get into real estate. Long-term rentals are the classic approach. They require a lot of capital, but give you that steady, passive income. House flipping is for those who want quicker profits, but it comes with way higher risks and still needs a good chunk of cash.
And for anyone who wants a piece of the action without actually owning a building, there are real estate investment trusts, or REITs. They're low capital, lower risk, and much more flexible. The right move for you? It really depends on your money, your stomach for risk, and what you're trying to achieve.
All right, listen up. Whatever strategy you choose, these three things are absolutely 100% non-negotiable. First, your due diligence has to be exhaustive. Leave no stone unturned. Verify every single piece of paper. Second, hiring an expert real estate lawyer is not a luxury, it's a necessity. This is not the place to try and save a few bucks. They're your first and best line of defense. And finally, you should seriously consider getting title insurance. It's basically a financial shield that protects you if some hidden problem with your property's title pops up years down the road.
Which brings us right back to where we started. We began by talking about assets as things that put money in your pocket. But in a market as tricky and full of trapdoors as India's, maybe the most valuable asset you can possibly own isn't the property itself. Maybe it's the meticulous, exhaustive, almost obsessive preparation you bring to the deal. Could that be the real secret to turning all this peril into promise?